Hey y'all, it's Daily with Reclaim Grace, and I am so happy you clicked on today's video. We have some kind of random projects, a table makeover, a really cool mirror that Mama picked up on the 301 yard sale we are making over, and a awesome use of using the Swan's IOD mold to make a little planter. So kind of random, but they're all cool. They're all vintage inspired vibes, and I love how each one of them turned out. But of course, I have a favorite. Y'all let me know which one is your favorite, and let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, friends, we're getting started with our first project today. Just look at this cute little side table with its scalloped edges. It does have a little missing piece right here, but luckily I found it. It has some chipping veneer on top, so we will have to do something about that. I think I paid around $5 for this piece. The edges have also some chipping veneer, but otherwise it's in pretty good shape. I just love those scalloped edges. So let's fix that broken piece to start off with. I'm just going to use some super glue and accelerating spray. Add enough glue to the piece. Try not to super glue your finger to the board like I did right here, because it makes a mess and it burns your fingers. But I'm just going to hit it with that accelerating spray and it dries instantly. Next, let's work on this chipping veneer. I'm just going to use a putty knife scraper and just scrape up what I can, trying to make sure I don't have any pieces lifting up when I get done. And then we're going to break out the sander with a 120 grit sandpaper and sand those areas smooth. I'm sorry for the belly shot right here. But I'm not going to be adding Bondo or wood filler to this. We're going for an aged rustic look when it's all said and done. So I'm just going to really work on those areas to get them smoothed out and give everything else a good scuff sand while I'm at it. And then we're going to give the piece a good wipe down. I lost a few clips of a recording. Do you see that crack on that second shelf right there? I did apply some wood glue in that and add some clamps, and I'm just going to let that dry up for about 24 hours. But we're going to go ahead and move to the next step by adding a coat of shellac all over this piece. You can really see we're working with a lot of different substrates like veneer, raw wood, sanded areas. So we really just need to get that uniform and sealed up tight. So I did do 2 coats, and now we are pulling out a new to me color. This is the gorgeous color Pantry Door by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. I don't know, just wanted to try something different here. And we're going to add equal parts powder with equal parts water, give that a good stir, and let it sit up for about 15 minutes. Before we come in with our first coat of paint, I am going to come in with some beeswax bar. I really wanted this piece to be chippy, so I'm going to hit those high points around those spindles, for sure around those gorgeous scalloped edges, and then we will come in with our first coat of paint. This did take about 2.5-ish coats to get the coverage I was looking for. Of course, drying in between each coat with that heat gun. Now that we're dry, we're going to come in with a 220 grit sandpaper with my orbital sander. I'm going to have the settings turned down a little bit so just the power isn't high, and we're going to go over all the areas we applied that beeswax bar to, but I'm going to go ahead and hit every surface just to smooth out the paint, and we got some gorgeous chippage on this piece. So I'm grabbing some transfers from March de Fleurs. I do have this back available on my website if you are needing it for your summer crafts. But I just made a floral arrangement on this piece. I wanted one side to be more heavy than the other side, so I just played around with placement. And of course, with transfers, you need to start with your bottom layer and work your way up to the top layer. You can use a piece of masking tape if you're scared they're going to shift around, but with this piece, I just winged it. We're applying that top piece on the left side now. Peeling and rubbing at the same time really helps that transfer release a bit faster, and then we'll move on to the other side. And the last step is we need to seal this piece up. I'm going to choose to use Sweet Pickins Dark Oil Wax all over this piece and let it sit, marinate for about 10 to 15 minutes before wiping it off with a lint-free paper towel. Super easy, and I love the way it looks. And that is it for this project. Be sure to let me know your thoughts. I think it is super cute. I love the transfers on top of that gorgeous milk paint color. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I priced it for $47. Let's jump into my favorite project from today's video. We are breaking out the Swan's IOD mold. Yes, I still have some of these in stock as well, and we are going to start using this baby some more, I promise. But we're warming up some IOD air dry clay, smushing it into our mold, using our thumbs to scrape off any excess clay. And then I like to come in with this long putty scraper and just flatten that back a bit more. I like to use this when I have larger molds. The smaller ones, really, it doesn't matter. But yeah, we're going to flex that mold, flip it over, give it a few tippity taps, and then we will pull the mold away from the casting, and it should fall right out since we dusted it well with cornstarch. I'm going to go ahead and make one more, so we have 2 total of the reversed castings. Now, this is not my idea. I got inspired to do this by looking at the IOD Creative Tribe Facebook group. I have a little itty bitty terracotta pot in between the bottom casting and this top casting. I'm using some Titebond Quick and Thick to glue the head and breast areas together of the 2 castings, and then I'm going to do the same thing for his little tail area, his little tail feathers back there. I'm going to glue together. Now, I'm going to kind of open up the little middle section so we can have an area to put some plants in, some greenery. And then this needs to dry, so I'm going to find like a paintbrush or something to hold its little neck and head up until it has a chance to harden. You can't just leave it sitting down. You really need it to have a good shape before you walk away in this part of the process. So I'm going to take a closer look, make sure we're looking all right. It does not have to be perfect right now, but it needs to be pretty much in the form you are going to let it dry in. You can see my little tail feathers right here are a bit crooked, so I'm going to try to straighten those out a bit. Spoiler alert, it fell right back, but it's okay. And we're going to let this dry for 24 hours, just like this right here. And now this is what it's looking like. I can pick it up. I can move it around. It is dry. You can see we have some areas where we glued the two together, and we're going to add a bottom to the Swan so that pot doesn't wiggle around like that. But first, let's do a little bit of clay, I'm going to say crack filler with some clay and a little bit of water. I'm just going to wet my finger, go over the surface, and then take this itty bitty piece of clay I rolled out and just smush it into those cracks and just blend it in with some water on my finger. And I just went to town on this thing, filling in all those cracks. And yeah, and then I just let that dry. And then next, we are going to work on the base of our Swan planter. But just filling in those cracks right there really helped the piece come a long way. So, yeah. We're going to dust our surface with some cornstarch and roll out about maybe an 1/8 inch thick piece of clay. We're going to take an X-Acto knife and cut out that to fit the bottom of our planter. And then we are going to take some Titebond quick and thick, good Lord. And I'm just going to put a little bit on my work surface so I can take a paintbrush and get the glue where I need it. And then we'll place that new bottom insert down, and then we will start smoothing that out and getting rid of the rough edges with some water on our finger. Now everything is dry. Our slip from filling the cracks and the bottom area is dry now. So now it's time to paint. Yes, I know I'm painting something that is already white, but I need to seal up that clay. I just thought this was a good step, coming in with a all-in-one white paint and giving this piece a few good coats before I come in and start painting the details on the face. I'm going to use some black and orange. I feel like y'all have already seen me do this several times recently with all the swans I've been doing, but just the same process. I like to add that little strip of black by the eyeball, go ahead and paint the whole beak black, and then come in with the orange or red and add a pop of detail there on the beak. Then I wanted to pop out those feathers, so I'm going to use a Antiquing glaze by Fusion. I'm going to go all over the piece. Once I get it up there, I will come in with a baby wipe and wipe back all the excess, leaving the Antiquing glaze down into all the feathers details. Then I need to let this fully dry before we go into our next step. Finally, here's how we're looking, and I got a new toy to play with, a UV resin kit off Amazon, very cheap. I think it was like $20. It comes with this UV light, comes with the UV resin, actually 2 of these bottles, and a little spatula thing and gloves. You definitely, y'all know I do not like wearing gloves, okay? So if I'm wearing gloves, that means it is a must. Wear you some gloves, and then you just pour the resin on the piece, piece and just smooth it around with that little applicator that they give you. The mat underneath me also came in this kit, and I will have it linked in my Amazon store if you find yourselves influenced. But you just put the resin on, you cure it with the UV light, and it's dry. I loved that final detail. It truly makes this clay waterproof, and it just gives it that strength it needs. I love, 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 love this project. Y'all let me know what you think about it. I gave this to my mama, so I'm not selling it, but if I was to sell it, it'd probably be about $27 because it did take a little bit of time invested in it. Y'all let me know what you think about this project. And our final project for today, do y'all recognize this mirror from our 301 yard sale haul? This is Mama's mirror she picked up on the 100-mile yard sale last weekend, and I'm going to help her get started on it. We're going to remove the backer piece by just unscrewing the 20 screws it has holding it up there. We're going to go ahead and set that to the side. I'm always scared to lift these up because I feel like a spider's going to be under there or something. Then we're going to remove the mirror. Man, this was a thick mirror, very, very heavy, very old. We're going to set this to the side very carefully. Then we're going to blow out all the little dust and everything that this plastic frame holds. And then you can see it has some velvet, red velvet stripping on it. It was not up there well, y'all. I think this was kind of, I don't know when it was added on, but it was not put on well. Or it's just really old one. So we're going to be removing that along with the little glue that it had remaining. And then we're going to give the piece a good clean before we go out and give it a nice healthy coat of shellac. I did 2 coats on this piece. It's plastic, so it desperately needs a primer because we're going to be going in with milk paint next. If you went straight in with milk paint, it would probably all chip off. We're looking for crackle, maybe a little bit of chippage, but not for it all to chip off. So shellac was a good choice here. Next, I'm going to mix up my favorite green mixture and Mama's favorite green as well, using equal parts olive with equal parts artichoke, and then I'm going to add some water to that, but I did make this mixture a little bit thicker than usual, and we're going to mix that up well, let it sit and thicken up for about 10 minutes, and now Mama jumps in to paint her new frame or her new mirror. This is going to go in her bedroom, so the green color is going to look great in there. But yeah, she's going to go ahead and put all the coats on, and I'll be back in a second. Now that we have good coverage, you can see we did have a little bit of chipping off. We're going to seal this piece up using Sweet Pickins Dark Oil Wax. I'm going to start by getting into all the little holes that you see along the frame. We'll do the hard parts first, and then I will come in with a larger chip brush and do the rest of the frame. I'm going to let it sit and soak into that paint finish for about 10 minutes before I come in and wipe off any excess. I had to jump back on this project and finish it up for Mama because I needed my work surface back. But that's fine. She helped with the painting. Once we get all this dark oil wax off, we're going to start putting everything back together. First, we're going to clean that really gross mirror. And then, oh, no. I forgot. Roscoe wants to show y'all his trick with some blueberries. He loves to catch things. And he wanted to show y'all that he is a good catcher and such a good boy. Blueberries are also really good for dogs, if y'all didn't know that. Yep, either way, Roscoe wanted me to show that to y'all. We'll get back to finishing up this project now. And the last step is just reattaching this backer piece to it with the screws to hold everything into place. I'm going to add their hanging hardware D-ring, but I am going to update the wire that holds it. I would just feel good about that since it's going to be over my mama's bed. I do not want anything crashing down on her in her sleep. But if I was to sell this, I would probably sell it for $127 in my booth. It's a phenomenal mirror with great detail. I love the green, of course, with that Sweet Pickins dark oil wax. Y'all let me know what you think about this transformation. Mama loves it, and I love it. And that is all I have for you today, my friends. I hope you enjoyed these makeovers. Be sure to let me know your favorite down in the comments. If you got any inspiration from today's video, hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you have not already. And I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye.